you get a shot up top, you can see that we got our ductwork run now.
Oh, yeah.
So the ductwork's coming up in the ceiling. Now we did make a change. So last week and the week before when we've been talking, this was our mechanical room.
Yeah.
So we had the air conditioner sitting in there, and we were gonna put the condensing units outside and run the pipe over the top and come down. Well, when my air conditioning guy got here, he said he would rather put the units in the roof or in the ceiling. So we're gonna take this now and make it just a utility closet or maybe a pantry, and that'll just be there for the kitchen purpose.
Okay.
And we have all of our ductwork run over the top. And what we did was we put a platform up top and we put in the units up top. So the unit's gonna be up here, and it's gonna come from here and distribute throughout the whole house. That way we can put the return air right here in the ceiling. So if you look, when I'm talking about a return air, the return air is the air where you put your filter. That's gonna go right here, so there'll be a filter in the ceiling right here. And that's where it sucks all the air. It'll pull from the kitchen and the bedrooms. It'll go through there, and then it blows out through your vents on the supply side. So that's on the air conditioning part. So we got all the air conditioning done now. We got all the electrical done right now. So how does that work with the electrical? So we got an electrical panel right here. So as you look right here, this is all the wires that are going throughout the house. Now the funny thing is, we'll walk around and look at it. So when your wire comes out of here, it'll come out, it'll come down a wall. Let's say it's coming right here. It feeds the power here, and then the wires go together here in the box through a wire nut, and it comes down and it'll go to this receptacle. Then it jumps over to this receptacle, then that receptacle, and it goes throughout the house. So they come out of the box and they go to one light switch or one receptacle, and then they just kind of daisy chain it over the next 5 or 6 receptacles or lights or whatever they're going to feed with it. And that's how your circuits go. So if you lose and you disconnect one receptacle right here, what happens when you pull that plug out, now it kills all the plugs downline. So you had to change it. Once that one right there is bad, it kills everything downline, so the whole wall will go out. So a lot of times in your home, you realize that you're watching, using a light, or you're using a heater on a particular receptacle, and then all of a sudden the heater goes out, but everything downline from that heater also goes out. All of that's on the same circuit. So if you trip the circuit because you had too much power on it or the ampacity was too high, then once that happens, it kills everything in line. So that's why it does that. So as you look at the wiring in the house, you can just notice that it goes from one to the other, to the other, to the other. And that's throughout each one of the units that we're doing here. Now the outside receptacles will all be on the same circuit on each side, because they'll all be GFI protected, arc fault protected, so they will run those from there all the way around. This is the refrigerant lines running down the wall. Now in one of the previous videos, y'all will hear me say I did not like the idea of running the refrigerant line from the hallway over there, up over the ceiling, down to the condensing unit. The reason I didn't like that is because my condensing unit's way down here, my evaporator's over here. And in order for, there's oil that pulls through your refrigerant lines as you're doing it. It's not a lot of oil, but that refrigerant pulls a little bit of oil from the compressor and it circulates through it. Now what happens over here is there's always a problem with oil getting caught inside of the evaporator unit, and then with it inside the evaporator unit, it's not going through the compressor. But our evaporator unit is up here. So any oil in our evaporator unit up there will always migrate down to the compressor right there, because the refrigerant lines are not going up. They're going up a little bit, but not much. And then they're coming down. So it's a better concept that lets that oil come out, get back to the compressor, and you never got to worry about flooding your evaporator with a bunch of oil, and then you lose the efficiency within that evaporator. You got some questions, Nick?
Let's check out the toilet, see if that got fixed.
Well, the toilet has not been fixed yet.
What?
So we need to reach out and we need to talk to somebody about that. I talked to Tim. Tim's going to have them come, and what he's going to do is they're going to cut it out on the back side of the toilet, and they're going to put a coupling in there. They're going to bring it out the 3.5 inches that was missed, and then we should be able to hide every bit of that underneath the toilet. Just put new concrete on it. It'll all be covered up and be done. But they haven't gotten to it yet. Looks like everything else as far as the bath is done. They got all the shower heads in. They got everything covered as far as that's concerned.
Did you already do some...
You put in my video that I hate metal tubs. Look, all y'all hate me for hating metal tubs. I don't hate metal tubs. That's Nick trying to get views. I don't care about the metal tubs. I said, my words, was I was experimenting and I was trying fiberglass tubs on this duplex right here. So I don't have any hatred towards either one of them. They all feel soft and comfortable on my feet. That's the biggest thing.
It's provocative.
It's provocative.
Did you already do a water test?
They have not done the water test on this yet.
Not done.
So
a water test.
once the air conditioning, they're still over there on the other side. They'll probably finish it up today, maybe tomorrow. Once that air conditioning is done on the other side, then we'll get an inspection and they will inspect, because we haven't done a framing inspection yet. So they'll do a framing inspection. They will do the mechanical inspection on the electrical inspection, the mechanical inspection on up top. They'll do the plumbing inspection all at one time. So all of that will be tested at one time. So we'll come back once they fill the tubs up so we can explain that to everybody. We'll fill the tubs up with water so that we can show how they test all of the plumbing so that we know that everything is right.
One of my questions was, I mean, if you get all of them tested at once and one of them fails, and then, I mean, how do they not overlap each other?
What you mean?
Some of these tests, like if one fails, now you have to go fix that, but by fixing that, you have to, you know, get into something or dismantle
So you
something.
remember we had all of the plumbing before we put any bathtubs or anything, all of the plumbing was done under the slab. So we know under the slab is good, right?
Right.
So that's not a problem. So if they do it now, they're gonna fill that tub up to water, which will cover all of this right here. So we'll know if any of this right here leaks with water. They will then put a pressure test on this. They won't put water in these lines right here, but they'll put air in it, 60 pounds of air, and it'll have to hold. So they'll have a gauge on it somewhere where they fill it up with an air compressor. It'll have that air in it when the inspector comes and looks at it to make sure that it's holding in the pressure on the air. We still got the top, so when they fill this up with water, there should be no water coming out here or anything like that right there. Now these were already tested, so we already know they're not leaking.
Okay.
But that'll let us know that right around our drain isn't leaking. It'll let us know that isn't leaking in the back. Just a double check.
So that initial plumbing test was
Yeah,
the
so
first
see
one.
that pressure gauge right there? I didn't know they had it in already. So this is a pressure gauge. So what they'll do is they'll come in and they'll fill it up with the pressure and it'll hold. And if you say, well, why doesn't it have pressure? I think these had pressure on them the other day, but all it takes is for somebody to come by, open this valve right here, and you no longer got pressure.
Yeah.
So that's why they'll wait to the last minute and come in and put a final pressure test on it when it's done. Then once that's done, insulation. This is a data box right here. So we run data boxes in anything that we build. I don't want nobody drilling holes in the side of my house to run cable in here. So this runs outside. They will hook to these wires outside.
Gotcha.
And then once they hook to this right here, it all comes in here. Everything's fed from here. There should be a place in each one of the bedrooms where they can hook to their TV, and one in the living room.
With AT&T fiber, you don't already have a fiber internet line going to there?
He will probably run a conduit from here that runs up top, where they can get it. If they can get it into the attic, they can come and drop through a conduit going into this data box.
Then perfect. So there would be an access point from the outside into the attic for that type of line.
Well, they can always run it up and we'll run it into the soffit or whatever, however we need to do it. I don't see that on this box, so I'll have to talk to Bo about that, because that's definitely something we want to have, because we know, they've been running fiber all up and down the roads right now. You notice they got all the roads shut down where Cumberland Electric's running fiber.
Yeah.
So we need to be prepared for that, and that will take a different cable. When you see your wire up here, the white wire you see running, this wire right here, that is going to be a number 14 wire. So it used to be all of the wire was white. Now all of the wire is color coded. So anytime you look at one of these, you'll see the writing right here. I don't have my glasses, so I can't read. You should be able to, you can see better than me.
A little bit,
but
yeah.
This is a number 14 wire because it's white.
14.
Now some of the older number 14 wire is white, number 12 wire is white, number 10 wire is white. This is something that they changed recently in the last several years. I don't know how far back it went. It's been a long time. That's a number 10 wire. So you see this orange wire right here is a number 10. Then you see a yellow wire. These yellow wires here are number 12. So if you go to the kitchen, all of the kitchen wires should be running. That's going to give us a 20 amp circuit, a number 12 wire, a 15 amp circuit on a number 14 wire, and a 30 amp circuit on a number 10 wire. So if you look at what's going on in the kitchen right here on the receptacles, they're running number 12. So it's yellow.
Gotcha.
That, it's something you might one day want to know. I don't know.
Well, a kitchen uses only an amp.
You got to have a 20. All your receptacles up here are going to be 20 amp.
20 amps, and then I mean, what needs more?
You don't. I mean, you might run some kitchen equipment, that big blenders or mixers or something that would do that right there, or use that kind of power. But for the most part, on the receptacles on the walls, you're not going to exceed the 15 amps that it is.
Okay.
Now you can run a number 10, like this is a number 10 wire that they're running over here to this receptacle. This receptacle could be a 15 amp receptacle right here.
Okay.
But he probably pulled it off of the kitchen and said, all right, we're already on 20, we're going to run it as 20 amp and put it, just to have it. But then you see where the TV box is right here, we're picking up with 15 amp receptacles.
15 amps.
15 amp circuits.
Right there. You goes 15, 20, 30, 40 amps.
Well, 30 will feed out water heater.
Okay, so a water heater needs like 30
Water
amps?
heater will need a 30 amp. Then if you look at our heating unit up there, it's going to have a 60 amp breaker that runs to it.
60.
Yeah. And
that's standard? I mean, could it run off 30?
no.
It has to be 50 or above? Or?
Well, no, you take, if we're going to use a 10 kW, you take 10,000 watts divided by 240 volts, and I'm not going to tell you what that is. I have to look at it. That might be 40. I might have just, but where's your stove at? So the stove's going to have a 60 on it. The heater probably going to have a 40 amp on it.
Okay. That's what my question was.
That's not okay. Where's the stove at?
Well, the stove needs 30 amps, you said?
No, the stove will be a 60 amp. I don't see a stove wired in here.
What color is the stove one?
It's going to be a gray wire, probably. So let's just look at our phone real quick. Let's go to the calculator. So if we have a 10,000 watt heating element, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So 10,000 watt heating element, we put 10,000, and let's say it's 220 volts, we divide that by 220, and that's going to tell us it's 45 amps. So you're probably going to have to put a 50 amp breaker in there to hold that, maybe a 60 amp breaker.
Okay.
To cover that. Now if we put 7,500 watts, then we'll go with a 40 amp breaker.
Okay.
And I know people are going to be hammering me on the numbers. I'm just thinking in my head, okay?
Yeah.